Hey, what's up, y'all? Roto here about, my goodness, words. And welcome back to Confessions of a Creative. I said that hesitantly because a part of me was like, I guess this is what I'm technically calling it as of right now. I don't necessarily know. Still being workshopped, but I like the sound of Confessions of a Creative, and I also like alliteration, so there's that. And today, we're going to be cleaning, technically different than the first video. We're going to be cleaning the AK-74U just because this is very dirty. But I wanted to quickly talk about content creation. It's 2025 now, which means just a whole another year of other content creators blowing up, a whole another year of people trying out content creation for the first, second, third, or infinite amount of times. Just generally, there's always going to be more creators, there's always going to be more people trying out this field, and I think that's great. But along with that, I was thinking there's a lot when it comes to actually becoming a creator, and there's a lot that people are going to have to naturally navigate when it comes to actually joining or jumping on this sort of career path. And I was just thinking to myself, like, there's a couple things to consider for sure that we can talk about, and then there's also a couple things that you'll eventually have to watch out for as well. But this isn't some like next level instructional video, supported by like massive studies or anything like that. But this is just somewhat of my own experience at the hands of platforms like Twitch, YouTube, TikTok, anything you name it, I've tried it at the very least. And this is just what I've experienced throughout my creation journey so far. But honestly, if you're endeavoring into content creation, fantastic thing. I hope you find a niche that you love and can manage to stick to and can manage to enjoy. But before even jumping into the area of content creation, I think it's important to ask yourself why you want to do this. Is this a passion that you slept on for a long period of time and never really indulged in until now? Is this something that you saw somebody else do and then got inspired to try out yourself? Or like, is this something that you just wanted to try for the sake of trying something new? Is it the money, of course, because let's be real, that's a factor, and an important factor at that. Or all sorts of other reasons. I think it's just important for people to like realistically come to terms as to why they want to do content creation, because the thing about it is it's always ongoing. And I feel like that reason as to why you started in the first place is going to be probably one of the biggest supports when it comes to like the lows of content creation. Like, I only started it just because I was inspired over a decade ago, if not almost 2 decades at this point, of just like seeing other creators and seeing, oh God, it's weird to say 2 decades almost. Jesus Christ. I'm getting old, but also like the career path of content creation is getting deeper and deeper into age, which is just like a crazy realization in the first place. But there's several reasons to want to get as to why you want to get into it, and I mean, like, I'm not here to like rank them or validate or invalidate whichever reasoning you decide to actually jump into content creation. But I think it's important to actually just realistically come to terms as to why you want to pursue the field in the first place. It's a lot that you're gonna have to deal with, and it's a lot of like daily check-ins, daily understanding of like metas and stuff like that. Or, well, it can be, I should say, because it can also be a completely different thing where it's just a passion project. You just want to do this one thing that you decide to do for content creation. Like you explore, I don't know, golfing or like trying different like health challenges or VR, for example. But like you feel like you just want to do that for the sake of you doing it. And maybe it's like a little bit of a video diary for you to be able to just kind of like explore yourself, but also like try and stretch those creative muscles or like find some sort of a creative outlet, which is understandable, which is also great. But if you're talking about like more of the full-time content creator career, which you see the major streamers as, and if that's your ideal, it's very important to initially ask yourself why you got into the field in the first place or why you're getting into the field in the first place. Just because there is so much on the road ahead that I had an idea of, some that I had an idea of, some that I had no idea to expect whatsoever. And then some that like you just need to experience it to actually gain an understanding of. And not to sound super vague when I say that, but it's just like one of those things. Oh my God, I didn't get my virtual cigarette yet. But it's one of those things where it's just like you're gonna meet a bunch of people within the field, and I feel like right ahead of time you should know that like you're not going to see or keep those people around for the most part. And that could be a multitude of circumstances. It could either be a case of like you guys aren't really that close, right? You guys have different niches and stuff like that. You manage to grow apart naturally, and that's totally fine. People can get canceled, or like people can just like, you know, be in weird situations where people are getting ostracized out of groups. There's like a weird amount of like backstabbing in the whole content creation journey that you wouldn't expect to see, because it's just like at the end of the day you would think to yourself that, hey, I like, let's say, doing video games, for example, and I would like to just hang around people that also like doing the same. There can be an insane amount of unnecessary drama that just comes out of nowhere, which, I mean, you're kind of just sitting here like, well, what is even happening as of right now? But people are getting affiliated in all sorts of negative ways. It's just like, this is stuff that I feel like usually happens on a lot of creators' journeys, and like a lot of, I mean, this is happened to mine as well. But like, just generally speaking, that's one of the roadblocks that you come across in content creation. Also, like dealing with ingenuine people too. I mean, there's a lot of people that are very, very nice up front, of course. Maybe this is something you expect, maybe this is something you don't. But there's a lot of people that are genuinely nice up front and like, you know, maybe don't talk the best behind like about you behind your back, or maybe they're just very disingenuous and they only like reach out when they see that your numbers are doing well, for example, just because they're in the pursuit of clout, right? This hasn't really happened to me to a certain degree. At least I don't think so. Or maybe I'm ignorant to it. Who knows? I don't think I'm getting crazy numbers in comparison to people. But like, numbers aside, I've just heard it happening to other people, and like, it's also put me in a weird like place where I'm think I have like a good relationship with someone, and then like I reach out and like chat with them, and then like they might maybe so happen to do well or something, and like I don't want to come off as like disingenuous just because I'm actually trying to like chat with a person. But I think besides that, like one of the most important things to do, I think, in this content creation journey is try and just like establish an actual friendship with people and just be genuine, because like let's be real, there's so many assholes out there. Like, we need less of them, please, dear God. But like, I don't know, try your best to be genuine and like make actual friends within the creator journey, as opposed to like networking and then like finding and using people only when they're at a convenience or something like that. I don't know. There's a lot of very disingenuous people out in the world and in the world of content creation, and it kind of sucks to think that you're closer with people than you actually are. So there's that. And one of the biggest ones, I'd say, is to consider your damn mental health. And when I say that, I mean that to a T. Like, that is probably one of the biggest things that you have to like watch out for, because when it comes to the relationships with other people, that could take a toll on your mental health. When it comes to like the type of, if you haven't figured out what niche you want to do, like the type of content you want to create, that's another sort of stresses right there. When it comes to finding that sort of content, numbers. Numbers is one of the biggest stresses I've seen so many people go through in the content creation journey. And it like genuinely makes me sad, because one, I've also been through that stress as well, in terms of like on both ends, in terms of like the, I need to figure out exactly what generates numbers, because like let's be real here, that can contribute to finances, that can cause a realistic sort of stress, but like at the same time, hyper focusing on that trouble can really affect the type of content you make, which ironically enough could affect the numbers. And if you're focusing so much on the numbers instead of the actual core content itself, you're essentially screwing over those numbers because you're focusing on the analytics, if anything. But Of course, it's way easier said than done to not focus on whether your numbers are dwindling, whether you're not even like making much movement, or other people doing better than you in what you thought was a similar position. And it's way easier said than done to say don't compare yourself, but like really, really, really try and ingrain those practices to not compare yourself. So I think to really, really watch out for your mental health is one of the biggest things to like care for. And when I say I've been on both sides of it, I've seen the side of like me starting out and not necessarily seeing an insane amount of growth within like a long period of time, when I wouldn't have expected to be like the next like Kai Cenat or anything like that. But a part of me was like, oh, I've been streaming for like 2 years and I haven't really seen much growth. Like, what's happening? Is it with me? Is it this? Is it that? Like, what are all these sorts of factors, right? Of course, it's just like changing up your method. You got to realize that you have to be a little more adaptable when it comes to actually trying out content. When you hear about success stories, most of the people that became successful didn't really stick with the exact same thing. Don't get me wrong, it happens. You know, you could try one thing for the first time ever and like instantly be really good at it, but like the odds of that happening are so low. So you got to just like try and be a little more adaptable, try and change a few things, be open to change overall. And I've also been on the other side of that, where some things have gone really successful. Um, and it's been great. But then instantly, the one thing that a lot of people romanticize is the success part of content creation when it comes to like actually getting the views, when it comes to the hundreds of thousands, millions of plus, whatever the hell amount of views. They instantly think, hey, say my happiness is here. If I get a million views, my happiness is going to be here. But then you're also going to realize that sure, maybe it is for a little bit, but then it's probably going to lower back down because you're like, oh shit, how do I maintain getting those amount of views? You also got to watch out for the mental health. Oh, that just went right in the gun, damn. You also got to watch out for that part where it's just like maintenance when you reach those successes. That's a whole nother thing. I don't know. It's weird because it's just like it feels like a part of it is just very, very instant gratification focused, but a lot of it in terms of the road of content creation requires a ton of maintenance. And that's why you got to make sure you're clear up here before you start outputting stuff out there. I don't know. There's a lot to be able to talk about when it comes to like content creation overall. I'm pretty sure I'm done this gun already. But I think it's important to like watch out for, there's just a couple of tips overall like for you to watch out for naturally if you decide to actually approach this road of content creation. And I mean, hey, it's a new year. I'm not going to say new me, but you might want to kind of, similar to the last video, go out and try new things. And like, if content creation happens to be one of them, those are just a couple of the things to look out for. I'm sure that I'll probably expand on this topic a lot more a little bit later, but there's just so many layers to content creation overall that I think it's important to just like start with at least a realization of a few things. Sure, some of it was general, some of it was broad, but you got to start somewhere. All right, done with that. And this is what we got so far. Good stuff. What's to say? The mag was also clean as well. I didn't even clean that. Is that empty? Okay, that is empty, because I was going to say. Nice. Nice and shiny. AK-74, you done. Put those things into question. And I mean, depending on the answer, might depend on what your road in content creation looks like. Anyways, though, thanks for watching. Leave.